This is a WHTV special report. Now here's Charles Kennedy.
Good afternoon. I'm Charles Kennedy. We interrupt your regular programming for this special news bulletin. Following the lead of the Australian government, Edison, New Jersey's own Wardle Hartridge School has signed the Kyoto Protocol to celebrate its 125th year, trying to become more environmentally friendly. Our very own Will Vogt is there on the scene to catch all the action of the signing.
Thanks, Charles. I'm here live in the Oakwood Room, where Andrew Webster, the head of the Wardle Hartridge School, has officially mandated the Kyoto Protocols at his coeducational institution. I'm now here with Mr. Webster himself. Mr. Webster, what do you think this means for our world and our school?
For our school, it means considerably less heat, which will make things colder. For the world, it means less pollution.
Do you think that now the Wardle Hartridge School has signed the Kyoto Treaty, that the White House will be pressured into doing so?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is because Professor Ganella has a hotline connection to the White House, and it rings on President Bush's desk, and any given day, if he's out of his nap, there's about a 50-50 chance that he will take Mr. Ganella's call, and I'm sure that Mr. Ganella, environmental activist, conservative that he is, will push our agenda at the highest levels.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Not everyone on the Wardle Hartridge campus is excited with this new prospect. Earlier, I spoke with conservative critic Gerard Ganella. Your opposition to the Kyoto Treaty is well documented. In fact, your latest opinion column in this last edition of the school's newspaper, The Beacon, received a great deal of buzz.
Well, again, thank you for having me on this program. It's a very important topic for our time, and certainly in the upcoming presidential election. Right here in our own little community at Wardle Hartridge, located at 1295 Inman Avenue, Edison, New Jersey. Available on the web, www.waschool.org. Pre-K 3 through 12. Coeducation. The Kyoto Treaty's efforts are to regulate carbon dioxide under the Clean Air Act. One of the major issues I have with signing the Kyoto Treaty is that 80% of the leading countries in the world, including great populations like China and India, great populations, are exempt from this document, this treaty. And in a sense, it actually hurts the United States economy by us signing it. So this is one major reason why I'm against signing of the Kyoto Treaty.
Now, what do you believe will happen if Wardle Hartridge does indeed go about and sign this Kyoto Treaty?
Well, it's going to mean actual less money spent toward fuel, and the current equipment is going to be changed out. Good equipment that has steel from World War II. Those boilers down there, since the building was built in 1968, are going to be dismantled, and new high efficient boilers are going to be put in that are going to save on fuel, save on costs, and warm the building probably better than what we already have.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Ganella. I appreciate it.
You're welcome,
Mr.
Will.
Gerard Ganella here. As you can see, this will be a very contentious issue for a while yet. Reporting from inside the Oakwood Room, this is Will Vogt, WHTV.
Thank you, Will. The Webster signing has also been a hot topic for candidates on the campaign trail.
The 21st century is truly a global century. You know, workers today think nothing of holding teleconferences with colleagues on 3 continents. Scientists and scholars can instant message each other with their latest ideas. A student in Manchester can email with someone in Mongolia or Macedonia. You can share so much now today that when I was your age, sitting where you are was just unimaginable. But with this new global era come new global challenges. Global warming caused by pollution halfway around the world can affect our climate here at home.
One thing we can certainly agree on is that we are responsible for good stewardship of this earth. I frankly believe my party's not been very forceful. They've not been on the forefront of leadership that we need to be. And as a Republican, I'd like to think I'm more in the mold of a Teddy Roosevelt, who's a true conservationist, than one who says, hey, we can do whatever we want to this planet. It just doesn't really matter, and it's somebody else's worry to deal with it in the future. I think that's recklessly irresponsible. I think it's, frankly, bordering on a sin against the Creator, if you will. And we've talked about faith. For me, this is not just a political issue. It really goes to the heart of my faith, because I believe that I don't own this earth. This isn't my planet. I'm a guest here, a visitor. And if I come to your home as a guest, I should be respectful of your property. I should treat it with a level of responsibility so that I don't tear things up. I think we'd all agree that that's sort of decent human behavior. Well, I look at the planet this way. This isn't my world. It doesn't belong exclusively to me. It belongs to all of us, but very importantly, it belongs to future generations. I want you and your children and grandchildren to have clean water, fresh air, good soil so things will grow. And if I just pillage and rape it and act as if it's only for me and my generation, and you never get to see the beauties of nature that I've taken for granted and really love and embrace, because I love the outdoors and I consider myself a conservationist, if I do that, then I've acted with such a reckless disregard for you that it's the height of arrogance and selfishness for me to do that.
Recently, the United States agreed to a compromise at Bali. Here, interviewing Roland Marioni, head of the Wardle Hartridge climate team, is Will Vogt, our correspondent.
Thanks, Charles.
I think, is there mold spores in the air? I think there's mold spores. Excuse me, is this topic about pollution? Okay.
Now, having coughed that, what do you think the reductions proposed in both the Kyoto Treaty and the latest Bali agreements will mean to the world and to this country and to Wardle Hartridge?
Well, I don't know that it's going to mean a heck of a lot to our country. I was not in favor of us rejecting the Kyoto Accords back in 1999 or so, and we have now for the last 8 years been looked down upon by the rest of the world as being absolutely the biggest consumer of energy and the least interested in trying to conserve energy. The Bali Accords, if we did agree to it, I don't believe what we did agree to is very, very much any different than where we were before, because now there aren't essentially demanded constraints. So what's going to happen? We have, for the longest period of time, been the biggest consumers of energy in the world. We run the risk of having a way of life absolutely swept from under our feet by two countries who are so much larger than us, that are emerging, that are going to have greater demands on the oil products that we all share in the world. So the fact of the matter is, I just don't know who's running the ship intellectually in this country. I've had a real problem with this for a long time. I also think that we as a country have never been asked to sacrifice since 1941. 41 to 45, this country absolutely dumbfounded the world by mechanizing itself, conserving and sacrificing to a point where all of our enemies at that time during the Second World War were no match for us in a 3-year period. If we wanted to, and if we could be convinced by leadership, we could do the same thing to deprive ourselves of a need for and dependency on foreign oil to such a degree that the rest of the world then will be left in the wake. We choose not to do that yet. I am not so sure the people in this country are capable of sacrifice ever again.
Now, that being said, do you think the recent passage of the energy bill by Congress will be effective at all?
Well, I look at it this way. In that energy bill, I do believe one thing that I read said that by the year 2020, all cars are required to have
mileage capabilities in miles per gallon of between 30 and 35 miles per gallon. I'd like to just cite that most of the products produced by General Motors now attain 30 miles an hour, 30 miles per gallon or better. So let me see if I get this right. We just agreed to a bill that's going to force the car makers to attain something they've already attained, and we give them 13 more years not to get any better. We should have made it much higher, or we should have shortened the time frame. Should have shortened the time frame. It only takes 1 year to model a new car, not 13. But if you don't have to change your assembly line for 13, everybody smiles while we're not getting our objectives met.
Now, if there is some sort of sacrifice that is made by the American people, whether it's as a result of signing an agreement similar to the Kyoto Treaty or having tougher energy standards and energy laws passed by Congress, how do you think that will change American society, American tastes, American life in the future?
Well, I can say this. I was in Europe last year at Thanksgiving, and I was absolutely impressed by the degree to which environmental concerns are addressed. From simply, and this may sound crude, from simply having toilets in apartments that have different volumes of flush on separate levers depending on the nature of the requirement. So, and windmills, which we're starting to get into, and a considerable higher degree of mass transit being used by people in all areas. And the reason is they have to pay so much for their gasoline. Well, in this country, but I will concede that in Europe, the cities are smaller, they're all fully populated, and it becomes very necessary to easily access one place to another by mass transit. In this country, if we are forced to raise the price of gasoline to $4 or $5 a gallon, forcing people to use mass transit, we might not even be able to handle the mass transit requirements that people are going to ask for, because so many people work so far away from home that there won't be easy access to get to their jobs. So we create other problems. So it's going to be a concerted effort, but I do believe that it can be done. The awareness, just awareness alone, and concerted effort on a daily basis for everybody on a small level is monumental in the amount of energy we save.
Because of this, do you see Wardlaw Hartridge signing the Bali Accord or agreeing to the Bali Action Plan?
I think Wardlaw Hartridge is brighter than the people that sign these accords. Okay, Wardlaw Hartridge, without much effort, we could get ourselves to be so much more energy efficient. Okay, we're going one step already by need because our boiler just blew up or whatever, it's not working. Now we're going to wind up having an efficient boiler, really efficient to the point where the zones in the building will only be heated when they are required to be heated. They won't all be heated at the same time. There's going to be a higher percent efficiency of the boiler that's going to use, so that in itself is going to help us. We, as students, we become at Wardlaw aware. The more aware we are, we transfer that awareness back home, and we transfer that awareness to our school. So we can develop our own little knit community of people that are conscientious and care. Little things, turning lights off and all that kind of stuff, it all adds up. But I do believe because of the size, because of our size, we have we can jump ahead and be pro conservation. It's easier to do because we're small.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Marion.
All right.
Roland Marioni, the head of the Wardlaw Hartridge Climate Team. This is Will Vogt reporting. Back to you, Charles.
Thank you, Will. That brings us to the end of our special news bulletin. Now we return you to your featured film, The English Student.